What is going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video of Curry Tech, and today we'll be talking about the new Ryzen 4th Gen CPUs. Anyway, let's get on with it. Sorry about not uploading for the last 2 weeks or so. Things have been kind of crazy around here, so finally got back into the groove of things. And now we'll talk about some new CPUs and new iPhones that just came out, and what my take is on this. Anyway, let's get started. So the three new processors that came out, or at least announced, was the Ryzen 9 5900, the Ryzen 7 5800X, and the 5600X, or the Ryzen 5 5600X. So basically on the slide that you're going to see is all the cores and threads of all the CPUs. So the Ryzen 5 5900 is the same 12 core 24 thread, but with a boost clock of 4.8 gigahertz and a base of 3.7, featuring the same TDP as last gens. So that's a very good energy efficiency to boost clock ratio, not using a lot more TDP, whereas other CPUs might. The 5800X is keeping its 8 core 16 thread part with a 4.7 gigahertz, so only 100 megahertz down. And the 5600X, which is going to be the battleground of most of the CPUs, the Ryzen 5 5600 coming at 6 cores 12 threads, but having a max boost clock of 4.6 gigahertz. And I know what you're going to say, that the Ryzen 5600X, wait a minute, wasn't there a 3600X? Yes. And the pricing right now is that all of these CPUs are $50 more than what they usually were 3rd gen Ryzen. Now, I believe they did this was because of the single thread performance that they promised with this to beat Intel's. And they are planning to release, at least from the leaks and sources that I know, a Ryzen 5 5600 non-X at 220. And leaks have said that it will beat the 10700 in gaming, which is Intel's stand. That's all Intel right there, gaming. And with these new CPUs, can it actually be Intel at gaming? Can this be the final nail in Intel's long reign in gaming? And the prices of these CPUs are actually a lot higher, but they're just $50 more. The Ryzen 5600 is $300, and I believe the Ryzen 5900 is $450, and the Ryzen 5800X is also $400. I have to, don't fact check me on that. I'll figure that out later. But as you see on the slide, these are the 3 CPUs that are confirmed for now. And now we're going to move on to another slide, going over the architecture of the CPUs. In Zen 2, there's a thing called the L3 cache, which is what the CPU cores share throughout the CPU. And on the slide you will see that Zen 2 cut the 32 megabyte L3 cache into 2 layouts, so that 4 cores, or whatever many cores, would use 60 megabytes instead of the full 32. What Ryzen's Zen 3 did was allow all the CPU cores to access the full 32 megabytes of L3 cache, which has not only boosted its single performance but also memory latency, which is great to see, and I can't wait to see what the CPU can do in gaming. And on the slide you see all the pictures and everything, your take on it, but I believe it's going to be really good. Now moving on to the Ipc improvement. Now the Ipc improvement is said to be 19%, give or take, different workloads and all of that. But it's also boosted that in Cinebench R20, the Ryzen 9 5900X broke the 600 score limit in single-threaded that Intel hasn't even gone with the 10900K, which is very interesting. It scored a 641, whereas the Intel scored like a 580, 570, and that's very scary. I think a lot of people at Intel are probably running around with their heads chopped off, wondering what are they supposed to do to counteract this. like this beast of a CPU that's said not only to be good at workload, but also now beat Intel in single thread, which was their main threshold. This is going to be a very interesting year for CPUs, so follow the channel and stay relevant on the new information and leaks of the day. Okay, now, if you're thinking about buying these CPUs, I would say wait for third-party reviewers to actually guarantee that these are better in single-threaded performance than the like per se Intels. But this could be the final nail in Intel until they get the 11th gen CPUs out. But unfortunately, those are going to be on 14 nanometer plus. So, you know, give or take. Anyway, as I said before, the Ryzen 9 5950X was unveiled right after the 5900X, and it didn't break the 5 GHz mark that we wanted to, but still maintains the same 16 cores, 32 threads at 4.9 GHz. I'm guessing overclocking may, you can hit a couple cores to 5 GHz maybe, but this thing is a beast, and if I remember the price, it was $800, and that's a very high price for a CPU. For this, it is not towards mainstream, it's more towards creators and kind of high professional workloads. Well, I say it is a good CPU, but there is the 3950X. And on the slide, you'll see that not only does the 5950X boost up to 4.9 GHz, it also maintains the same TDP as the Ryzen 9 5900 and the 3900. And single-threaded workload has also improved very well at this point. These CPUs are going to be amazingly, like a monster of a CPU. And I can't wait to see what these things can do when they are released to the public and also third-party reviewers. So stay tuned and follow the channel. Now we'll be transitioning over to the new iPhone 12 launch that just happened, I believe, 2 days ago? Don't quote me. I think it's 2 days ago. Well, we'll see anyway. And right now, the phones that were released was the iPhone 12 mini, which is expected to come out a month later, the iPhone 12, the iPhone 12 Pro, and the iPhone 12 Pro Max. And as you can see on the slides we have up, here's some pictures of it. It brings back the nostalgic SE sort of frame. It's not sort of that more curved, it's a lot more flat. Everything on this phone now is flat all over. So if you're into that, I would say it's a really good nostalgia, nice balance of modern art with old art. And let's see here, right now it features the A14 Bionic Chip, which is the first 5 nanometer CPU processor in a mobile phone, the first ever. Obviously, of course, Apple's been great at making CPUs, and it shows in this phone as well, that it's a beast of a phone. And the iPhone 12 mini is the kind of little brother of the iPhone 12. It's coming in at 5.4 display, so 5.4 inch display. It's for people that don't want a big phone. They don't want that 6.1 inch or 6.7 inch. We'll get to those ones later. And it fits in your pocket, obviously. It features the same A14 Bionic chip and also 5G across the entire stack. I need to make sure that this is true 5G and not just some 4G LTE ripoff, but I believe this is true 5G, a millimeter wave technology. An iPhone 12 mini will actually cost you $700. And as you see on the slide, compared to the iPhone 8 or iPhone 7, I don't know which one this is, but I think it's the one with the home button, it actually looks a lot smaller compared to the 4.7 inch display of this iPhone SE. And what amazes me is how much the bezels are gone. Also, bezels have been reduced a lot. And basically, it creates all around better experience for the user. Now, some other things that were in the event was MagLift or MagSafe. I forgot the name of it, but on the slide you'll see here that this is the technology they use to make the magnet work. And basically what I believe the magnet's supposed to do is, like, you slide on and the magnets align the charger with the phone. And what Apple is trying to do is they also have not included a phone charger in the case, making the box smaller and more demand for volume rather than having those bulky big boxes. And with this magnet and wireless charging and all that, they're trying to get away from the charging port. Now I know what you're saying, charging port? What? Getting rid of the charger port? That's going to be on the iPhone 13, I believe. So what they're trying to do is ease everyone into it, which is going to be tough, but we know Apple has done a lot of things that other phone manufacturers have followed as well. Getting removal of the audio jack, and now the cable in the box. I mean, there's some memes going around that you have to assemble the phone. But this is kind of the layout of how the magnets work. I know what you're interested in is the iPhone 12, and the price of it is also going to be only $100 more, but for 6.1 inch display, which goes for $800 from Apple. And also Apple said that's 4 times improved ceramic. They didn't call it glass, it was like ceramic protector or something. And it said 4 times improved shatter resistance. Now, what is 4 times the amount of protection? We don't know, unless we could probably use a baseline of an iPhone 11 and maybe see if that's actually 4x or maybe older generations of phones to determine that. But the camera module, has anything changed to the camera? Yes and no. The camera module on the iPhone 12, and I believe the iPhone 12 mini, it's the same 12 megapixel ultra wide and 12 megapixel main camera. The only thing that they did change was actually the aperture. It changed it from, I think, 2.5 to 2.4, which improved low light performance. Now, we take pictures in the daytime a lot, but what about nighttime? And when you get those pictures at night, you want it to be nice and clear, but you can't get the right amount of light. That's what this aperture does. And having a smaller aperture actually allows more light in, allowing the photos to actually look better at night. And this is what iPhone has always been great at, is the camera system and how everything software-wise has improved the quality of the photo. And also there's new technology called LIDAR. I didn't research much about it, but it seems like it's a pretty substantial feature that they pushed on all these phones. And now we're going to get to the Pro and the Pro Max iPhones. Now looking at these slides, it's the same 3 main modules from the previous generation of iPhones. The same 12 megapixel setup. But the aperture is actually 1.6. So this is probably going to improve the most in low light. I believe the Pro Max will probably boast the best low light performance out of the whole lineup. And not only that, but the pixel density of almost every single phone has increased dramatically from 720p to 1080p. And this has finally changed, thank God. There is no 60Hz refresh rate, unfortunately. I mean, no, not 60Hz, 90Hz or 120Hz. It will only be 60Hz for now. Unfortunately, it's not a deal breaker for most people anyway, but I would have really liked to see at least 90Hz and maybe fast charging like 25 watts instead of 15, but there's always room for improvement on the iPhone 13, so that's just my take on that. And basically, should you upgrade from an iPhone 11 to an iPhone 12? No. I will say no, because the iPhone 11 is so similar to most of the product stack of the iPhone 12. You just may be missing the magnet and maybe a few optimizations of the camera and maybe a better screen, less shattering of the screen. Now if you're going from a 7 or like an 8 and you're fed up with the phone, going to maybe a mini or iPhone 12 is a good move, because iPhone 12 mini, if you don't like the big screens, you want a tiny phone, fits in your pocket, it's great. iPhone 12 mini is going to be a great seller. For only $700, I see that as a great phone. And also the iPhone 12, yeah, it's a great phone. I mean, these are all around solid phones. I can't say anything else about them. I mean, they're great. The only difference between the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 12 mini is $100. It's whether you want the bigger display or you want the smaller display. Battery life, I don't think they broke 4,000 megahertz or some milliamps, sorry, of battery life yet. They're probably still in the 3,000 range. I'll probably post it on the video. In the corner. But anyway, now you want to know the prices. The prices of the iPhone 12 Pro is going to be $1,000. Now compared to other flagships that go for $2,000 and Samsung's own $1,400 one, this seems like this is actually a pretty good deal. But is there any significant improvements? Yes, but I don't see that big of a difference between the 11 and 12 generation. I usually wait every 2 generations, because that is when the biggest leap happens in phones. And then the iPhone Pro Max will run you up another $100, but if you were to choose between the Pro and the Pro Max, I would say just the Pro Max features a really big 6.7-inch display. So if you really want that big display for movies and all that, then $100 more and maybe a bigger battery and more RAM, that's definitely worth it, I would say. Also, the Pro Max and the Pro come 120 gigs, 256 and 512 gigabytes for storage. There is no expandable storage, unfortunately, so what you buy is what you get. And I believe this is available in the whole product stack as well. But overall, the event was pretty good. I like some of the things I saw. The only thing I really want to see is 120 Hz, maybe higher displays in terms of Samsung's level, because I know Samsung makes amazing, beautiful panels that are actually far more superior than the iPhones in terms of pixel density, bright of nits, just the color range of dynamics. A lot of those screens are at least up to 4K, like 3,000 pixels, 31 by 1330, some crazy ridiculous number. Samsung has always been there for panels and displays. iPhone however, has catched up a little bit. And I can see them catching up to Samsung at one point in that department. Overall, great phones. Love the event. All I would want on the iPhone 13 is maybe just 120 Hz and faster charging. And yeah, hope you guys learned a lot. Comment down below what other phones you might want me to review, what other video ideas, CPU builds, PC part pickers. Just comment down below what you want. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe on the video and tell your friends about Curry Tech. Anyway, peace out.